We welcome you to the first forum with the framework of the Geothermal Resource for Energy Transition event. For us, it's a pleasure to have your participation in this first forum in which we will tell you about geothermal energy in Colombia. The panelists for the forum are Thanks for attending, and we hope you enjoy this forum.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Welcome to the Geotheroom Forum, Geothermal Resources for Energy Transition. So today's outline, it's going to start with the panelist presentation and forum individual questions. Then we have a second part for general questions, a tribute, and finally acknowledgements and closure. My name is Maria Rosa, and together with Fernando Gutierrez, we are going to be your hosts today. So thank you so much for being here with us today. We are going to present you the panelists.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for attending our panel. I'm going to proceed by presenting our panelists. First, we have Daniela Blesent, who studied environmental engineering at the Politecnico di Torino in Italy, and obtained a PhD in Earth Sciences at Université Laval in Canada. She has worked as a professor at the École Polytechnique de Montréal between 2010 and 2012, and since 2013, she's a professor at the Universidad de Medellín in the Environmental Engineering program, where she has been leading the Geothermal Research Group, awarded in 2020 as the best research program in the university. She is the leader of the IGCP 636 project called Geothermal Resources for Energy Transition, which is a research network of the UNESCO International Geoscience Program. In 2020, she received the award, the Special Geothermal Achievement from the Geothermal Rising of the United States. Since January 2020, she's the president of the Colombian Geothermal Association.
And it's such a pleasure for me to introduce our second panelist, Dr. Claudia María Alfaro. She is a chemist from the Universidad Nacional de Colombia, and she obtained a geothermal specialist degree from University of Auckland, New Zealand. She has performed studies in analytical techniques for environmental chemistry at Newton College of Higher Education, isotopic and geochemical techniques for geothermal reservoir management at IAEA, geothermal energy and environmental sciences at Kyushu University. She has worked in geochemistry of magnetic and hydrothermal fluids, exploration data integration for conceptual models of geothermal systems, as well as in early phases of terrestrial heat flux research. Claudia Alfaro has been working since 1988 at the Colombian Geological Survey, and she has been a coordinator of the Geothermal Research Group since 2013. Thank you, Claudia, for being here with us today, and welcome.
Now introducing Sandra Salamanca Gaviria. She's the coordinator of the Electricity Sector Management Group for the Ministry of Energy and Mining of Colombia, leader of the group in charge of monitoring the electricity market in order to propose solutions through public policies, the tracing of strategic projects for a country, and the management of special subjects among energy generation. She is also part of the working group that developed the Geothermal Initiative. She has a background in electric engineering from Universidad Nacional de Colombia and more than 10 years of experience in the electric sector, focused on special projects like electric mobility, energy efficiency, renewable energy, among others.
Our next panelist is Dr. Warren T. Worst. He serves as the lead geothermal project fund manager for the Geothermal Development Facility for Latin America, the GDF, an active member of the Geothermal Energy Association and the Geothermal Resources Council, now known as Geothermal Rising. Dr. Warren T. Worst has worked in the earth sciences throughout the world since the 1970s. And he holds engineering degrees and a doctorate in geophysics from the Colorado School of Mines, and is the founder of the Worst Group LLC, a geothermal exploration and development company operating principally in Latin America with offices in Washington, D.C. area and in Bogota, Colombia. The Worst Group and Interlinked Capital Strategies form the consortium IDA Fund Management LLC, which serves as the fund manager of the GDF. Dr. De Worst has been involved in projects and opportunities in pipeline in Colombia, as well as other locations, and he is a strong advocate for the thermal development in Latin America and Colombia in particular. In addition to his work with the GDF, he has supported geothermal efforts sponsored by the International Development Bank. So we appreciate your experience and enthusiasm in participating in today's forum. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Dr. Warren.
Now let me introduce you to Julián López Palacio. He's a geologist from the University of Caldas with a specialization in environmental management from the Universidad del Área Andina Foundation. He has been linked to the Valle de Nereida's EPM Czech geothermal project since 2006 as director of the geothermal team in charge of managing the project from surface geothermal exploration work up to the pre-feasibility evaluation of the resource and its development. Since 2020, he has been formally linked to the AGEOCOL Association as vice president and participating as an enthusiast of geothermal energy in Colombia.
And our last panelist is Mr. César Patiño. He is a petroleum engineer from Universidad Industrial de Santander, Colombia. He obtained a specialization in public administration and government at Universidad EAM, a master in business innovation management at UBS Business School, with more than 24 years of experience, leadership, and commitment for a hydrocarbon industry growth with technology, ideas, social responsibility, and environment sustainability, a strategic vision and opportunities of challenging conditions. He bets for the energy efficiency transition like a visionary into new business perspectives. He has been working for Capital since 2009, with a special focus during the last years into bringing together oil field assets opportunities with geothermal, hydrogen, and storage opportunities, considering efficiency in engineering and optimization. So thank you so much, Cesar, for being here with us today, and let's start the panel.
Okay. Now, once again, thank you so much to our panelists for being here today, for taking the time. And also, we want to welcome everyone to the panel. So we proceed to start now, right? Remember, panelists, that the questions can have an answer up to 2 minutes. And then Jefferson will tell them or tell you that time is over, okay? So those are the rules. So let's get right into it. I'm going to start asking Professor Daniela Blesent the first question, which is, could you tell us a little bit about the UNESCO IGCP 636 project and what are its goals?
Hi, all. Thank you, Fernando. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you.
So first, the GCP is the International Geoscience Program of the UNESCO. is also supported by the International Union of Geological Science. We started in 2016 with a smaller project where just 5 countries were involved. Since 2020, we are 18 countries. 10 of them are represented in this first edition of Geotheroom. We can call it a project, but it's rather a research network. The main objective is to promote the use of geothermal resources as a clean, baseload, renewable source for energy through 3 main objectives. The first one is focused on high enthalpy systems, so increase the knowledge and the understanding of geothermal systems. The second is to promote and develop the shallow geothermal system, mainly with geothermal heat pumps. And the last one, but not less important, is focus on social aspect, conducting outreach activities. The activity is to promote the participation of students, young researchers. We have to organize an annual meeting each year. Actually, the funding that we receive, they must be used for the organization of this meeting, except during this pandemic where exceptions have been made. And yes, I think I use all the time.
Okay, thank you so much for your answer. Now, for the second question, what contributions have academic institutions made in the elaboration of the ministry's regulatory framework?
Okay, here I would say that the contribution has been mainly made from the Geotherical Association, since it's the entity that coordinates and facilitates the communication between academia, government, as well as private companies and communities. So Geotherical has been contacted, for example, last year in August to support the organization of a workshop organized by the ministry with stakeholders to share comments about the draft decree that was published. All Geotherical members, that includes several people from the academia, students, professors, are part of this association, so they could contribute with comments. In the same way, we have always shared the information about all public consultation on the draft decree with all our members. In the academia, we conduct research and teaching activities about geothermal energy to contribute to the increase of knowledge and to the training of professionals in geothermal energy. Because once the regulatory framework will be ready, we need experts that can work on the development of geothermal resources in the country. So it's really important the training task being fostered from the university, from the academia. And also, just to conclude, in 2020, 2021, we have organized several webinars with lawyers, for example, to have new input in the geothermal communities that is mainly made by geoscientists and engineers. But we need the legal knowledge, and that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Daniela. Now, we're going to move on to questions for our next panelist, Claudia Alfaro. Now, I'm going to leave it to you, Rosa.
Thank you, Fernando. So, good morning, Claudia.
Good morning, Maria Rosa, and everyone. Nice to be here.
Nice to have you here as well. Our first question for you would be, from your perspective, how has the SEG, or the Colombian Geological Survey, contributed to the exploration of geothermal energy in Colombia?
Well, as a governmental institution, The results of the geoscientific research carried out by the SGC are public. Therefore, there is a direct contribution to the geothermal exploration, which is represented in data, information, and interpretation of geological, geophysical, and geochemical data. Up to now, the Geothermal Research Group has worked in 6 geothermal areas: Paipa, Azufral Volcano, San Diego, Nereidas, Otero Londoño, at Nevado del Ruiz, as you know, Cerro Machín Volcano, and Paramillo de Santa Rosa Volcano. The institution has also produced preliminary versions of a regional assessment of geothermal resources and of a geothermal gradients map in sedimentary basins. Additionally, it produced a public web application for sharing hot springs and fumaroles information. On the other hand, the institution has a team which is dedicated to geothermal research, gaining experience year after year. These are the main contributions.
Thank you, Claudia. And what are the lines of research in geothermal energy developed by the Colombian Geological Survey?
Well, the institution works in geothermal exploration up to the intermediate pre-feasibility studies, which according to our local definition, goes to complete surface studies, which includes mapping, structural geology, hydrothermal alteration, geochronology, geophysics, and fluid geochemistry. Besides 3D modeling and the integration of that information in descriptive conceptual models. Recently, we have introduced the drilling of geothermal gradients boreholes. Currently, the institution has decided to expand and diversify the geothermal research in order to produce knowledge of high and intermediate low enthalpy resources. The new research lines include assessment of the geothermal resources, terrestrial heat flow, identification of favorable geothermal zones based on plate fairway analysis, and shallow geothermal resources. These last 4 are new research lines.
Okay, thank you, Claudia. And before continue to our next panelist, I think you are already allowed to open your camera. Okay. Thank you, Claudia. Okay, now we go with our next question. So this is a question for our first panelists, Daniela and Claudia. How have you learned to be a leader in the field of geothermal energy? Claudia, would you like to start?
Okay. Well, actually, I was at the right time in the right place, and I have to start being a leader, just assuming the challenge. You all know, because you are involved in geothermal, this is an irresistible passion. So I just have to start to focus and keep going. It implied the conformation of a team, the identification of requirements, planning, and follow up, which are the collective dreams. I would say that this was my way.
Thank you, Claudia. Daniela.
Yes, Maria Rosa. For me, it's, I would say also that I was at the right place at the right moment, but it's also a nice story because actually I'm Italian, but I didn't know that electricity generation from geothermal resources started in my own country until I started to read about geothermal when I was here in Colombia. I moved across different countries, Switzerland, Canada, and finally here in Colombia. And I saw that we have, you have a lot of volcanoes and geothermal resources. I was talking with my friend in Canada, Professor Jasmin Ramon, and he told me why we cannot do something together. I like speaking Spanish. So I say, okay, but I don't know anything about geothermal, but I knew about hydrogeology. And I didn't know anything about the geology of Colombia. So that's where I think I found the right people, because with him and with Jacqueline, that is with me today, that she's professor of the same program, she's geologist, so we could conform this first team. We were 3 professors and 1 undergraduate student. And years after year, we continue to motivate other students. We start to increase visibility at national and international level, especially thanks to this IGCP program that we started in 2016. And then we organized here the RENAC meeting, the Colombian Geothermal meeting in 2019. In January 2020, I joined the AGEOCOL board, and I'm here. So I think what helps me is that I'm really passionate about what I'm doing. I really like teaching and doing research. And I had the lucky to find the right people and to be at the right place. So it's a combination of factors.
Thank you so much, both of you, for your contributions and such inspiring histories. So let's continue with
Yes, now let's ask Julian Lopez some questions, okay? Now, Julian, thank you so much for being here. Julián, ¿te pregunto en inglés o en español? ¿Cuál prefieres?
Cualquiera de las dos, yo te respondo en español en todo caso.
Okay, okay. So Julian's going to answer in Spanish, and I will try to translate up to some degree, or I'll try. Now, how has your technical experience been in the Nereidas Valley?
Digamos que este proyecto ha sido un continuo aprendizaje. En ese transcurso, digamos que nos hemos relacionado con muchas compañías, con la Geo, con el ICE, con la CFE, con Dewhurst Group, que ejecutó la mayor parte de los estudios actualizados de geofísica en nuestra área, con la academia tanto nacional como internacional. Entonces, digamos que ese es el valor añadido más grande que ha habido en esta época de desarrollo de la parte de exploración, es el aprendizaje continuo y el relacionamiento con otros actores dentro del país e internacionales, mucho de ello a través de AGEOCOL y mucho de ello a través de los amigos que hemos ido creando en este tiempo.
Okay, muchas gracias, Julián. So Julián basically saying that this has been a process of continuous learning through the connection with different entities or third parties related to the project of exploration in Nereidas Valley. Now, Julián, how has this project been received by the community?
En el desarrollo comunitario hemos tenido un especial interés desde que inició el proyecto. Cuando arrancamos las etapas de exploración de campo, lo primero que hicimos fue poner un grupo de avanzada de gestión social que sondeara el terreno, que conociera a los habitantes y les contara en qué etapa estábamos de desarrollo del proyecto. Esto con el ánimo de dimensionar las expectativas de la comunidad frente a las acciones que ejecutamos, desde las campañas de geociencias de campo hasta las intervenciones, digamos que de infraestructura o de vías o de accesos para los trabajos geofísicos. Entonces, digamos que esto ha retornado en muy buen acompañamiento con la comunidad y en una aceptación del proyecto, con la esperanza de que proyectos como este mejoren los índices de calidad de vida de la zona en cuanto a transporte, comunicaciones, servicios públicos. Nosotros proveemos electricidad en la zona, digamos que hemos procurado porque esa mejora en la calidad de los servicios se vaya dando.
Okay, muchas gracias. So basically, Julián is saying that the first approach of the field work of this project was getting in touch with the communities and improving the perception of the project by educating and approaching these communities and telling them about the benefits of this kind of project. So it has had a positive feedback.
Okay.
Okay, muchas gracias, Julián, por tus respuestas. Thank you. Now, let's proceed with Dr. Warren T. Dewhurst. Maria Rosa.
Dr. Warren, how are you today? So let me ask you. Yeah, can you hear me? Well,
I can hear you fine. I was on mute.
Okay.
It was my fault. But in any case, thank you for letting me participate. I was very enthusiastic when I got the invitation. So
thank you for being here today. Let me ask you the first question. What technologies have you implemented in other parts of the world that could be implemented in Colombia as well?
my experience is pretty broad, and my specialty, I suppose, is geophysics, but we've done geochemistry, a lot of geology, aerial mapping using drones, which I think is a big part of the future, not just in geothermal, but in other earth sciences. I don't think that there are, well, satellite imagery as well, LiDAR, multispectral analysis, all of these things go in. From my own experience, there's no magic bullet. There's no silver bullet. There's nothing that will actually point to the resource and tell you specifically what you have. And many times the clients that we have are ill-informed and believe that you merely do a few things and immediately you understand how many megawatts of energy you can produce or what the resource looks like. And it takes sort of a holistic approach to understanding what the geology is and what the reservoir might be. So reservoir modeling is a big part of it. I think all of these technologies are here in Colombia. I don't believe anything is lacking from a technology base. I think that there's good enthusiasm within the communities. We can talk about social and environmental aspects, which is a big part, and it will be an increasingly large part of exploitation of these resources, as Julia mentioned before, and as Claudia mentioned as well. So those are the technologies. I see it more not a technical problem anymore, as much as an implementation issue. And that brings us to a whole other point, which includes price setting and whether or not there's a market. There you go. I'm trying to keep it within 2 minutes.
Thank you, Dr. Warren. And our second question will be, as managers of the Geothermal Development Facility for Latin America, what opportunities or requirements are needed to finance geothermal projects in Colombia?
A PPA. Next question.
You have 2 minutes.
Well, you know, that's the short answer. And there's a longer answer, and that is there's no lack of resources that a developer could take advantage of to develop a program in Colombia or anywhere within Latin America. We have a large pot of money that's available for developers from the GDF, and it's likely to increase as long as the world is stable. That's another whole other problem. So we have looked at, I think, close to 200 projects in Latin America over the last 6 years. And that's a lot of projects. And most people don't even recognize these as projects. They're more or less fantasies or dreams. But within Colombia, there are tremendous resources in geothermal. Absolutely marvelous country and a marvelous opportunity to exploit those resources if there's a need and if there's a desire. And that brings us to the most important point that I know of, and that is the price. There has to be a market for the electricity. So the projects that I particularly like to see are those that are holistic, that include other elements besides just energy generation, that include benefits to the community, like district heating and cooling, agricultural supplementation, as well as energy production. I think within Ecopetrol, there are huge possibilities to take advantage of waste heat, as well as secondary fluids that are generated, geothermal fluids from the drilling operations. And in the past, we've had some discussions with Ecopetrol. but they have a tremendous resource that they can tap. And I like to see projects that also benefit the community, as I said, but also benefit the environment. So non-destructive kinds of projects get the attention of the GDF. And in particular, we look at projects that don't disrupt indigenous populations and don't disrupt the environment. Those are the two key things. So GDF is a marvelous funding opportunity for any of these geothermal projects. IDB is a great resource as well. You've got CAFE, you've got private investors. There's a whole host of pent up money that's waiting to invest here in Colombia as well as the rest of Latin America. I think with the foundation that's recently been developed, I'm extremely enthusiastic about that. I see that as maybe the last obstacle to enticing developers to come in and take advantage of the resources here. So the students that are studying geothermal now probably can stay in Colombia, which is excellent. They don't need to go to the United States or Iceland or to New Zealand or wherever. They can stay here. This is a great place. So funding opportunities I see are, manifest. Everything is here. The resources are here. The talent is here. It's no longer a technology issue. It's a price issue. And I'll bring you back to the simple answer, the PPA. Someone has to buy the energy. It's not an academic problem anymore. It's strictly finance.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Warren.
Thank you.
So now,
now we have Sandra Salamanca Gaviria. Hello, Sandra.
Hello,
nice
how are you?
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to be here too. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now, let me ask you two questions, a little bit loaded. Now, what policies are implemented to guarantee the legal certainty of the entities interested in the exploration or exploitation of geothermal resources? Like, could you tell us a little bit about the regulatory legal framework that is being built by the ministry?
Yes, of course. Well, first, we are making or develop a more strong legal and regulatory framework, because we notice that that is missing right now. So we need to make a very strong legal and regulatory framework. We are starting right now making a decree. I think many of you already know about this. We published this decree 2 times last year to comments. And these comments help us to make a better decree, a better regulatory framework. We have the 2099 law. The 2099 law give us the responsibility to create a register, a geothermal register that help the private sector and the development of this kind of projects to guarantee the area where you are developing the project is going to be used just for you. Is not any other project is gonna be developed in this same area, and is in a kind of way taking the same geothermal resource. So we are working very hard making this decree in the first place. Second, we are working in a regulation that establish the rules of this decree. For example, tells you at what time you can ask for this registration, what are the different aspect that you have to complete to ask for this registration and everything else. We are hoping this decree is ready in April, because as I say, so we already published 2 times for comments, and the resolution was public for comments like early January into almost all January was public to comments. We are right now analyzing those comments, and we are hoping that publish that resolution in April too.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, Does the national government contemplate making a greater investment in the exploration of geothermal resources? Is it contemplated to carry out diversification of the use of the geothermal resource in terms of energy generation and direct uses?
Well, right now in Colombia, that is because the 143 law from 1924, sorry, that law established that the projects or the generation, transportation, and distribution energy here in Colombia are for the private sector. So the private sector is the one that developed this kind of projects. So the government doesn't make any investments in develop project like the for generation, sorry, or for direct uses. But the government, that actually what we do is develop public policies. These public policies make these investments like very achievable for the private sector. So we have to start making these kind of things that you were asking me in the last question. So we start making this strong regulation framework, and then we start to do another things like, for example, auctions, like we just did last year's. So, for example, this kind of auction is an example of making this our matrix very more diversity. So first, we start making these other regulatory and legal frameworks. Then we are going to look for make another public policies that help the develop of these kind of projects, because, well, we don't make any investment in this kind of projects. Besides, well, right now we have the knowledge that Inter-American Development Bank has some resources to help the private sector in the exploration stage. So this funds is for anyone that want to make exploration. And if you don't find the geothermal resource, it's not necessary to pay back this money spent in the development of the exploration stage.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, let's move on to Cesar Patiño. Maria Rosa, please.
Thank you, Fernando. So welcome, Cesar. How are you today?
Fine, thank you, Maria Rosa. Really a pleasure to be here with all of you here, an amazing panelist. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me ask you, Cesar. Ecopetrol uses the geothermal resource as a byproduct of hydrocarbon activity. What motivated you to develop the medium enthalpy project in Llanos, and what advantages does it provide?
Okay, thank you for the question. As we have been seeing, our Llanos Basin has different perspective and prospective resources that can bring into the energy transition strategy that we have now with renewables energy. What benefits we can include on this one is about clean energy, how we can take advantage of to have a 24/7 energy with confiability and sustainability on the resource that we can have in the area. Reduction on emissions is something that we can as well go further to bring this type of technology, as the energy that can be provided with this one can generate this special footprint related to the CO2 reduction emissions. And taking in consideration circular economy is a good benefit to reuse and reuse the water consideration with heat transfer, as Warren mentioned, to use these heat transfer conditions that we have at the different moments with low, medium, and high enthalpy. That is something that we are looking forward to found and to bring in our projects. And as well, one of the benefits is as well to give more value to our data sets that we have been already acquired. We have been now working on these 2 years where I have been involved on the project, reusing the information that we have it from the different scale, from basin, field, assets, and well site with the project team and with the from energy areas to use this one. And the benefits of the energy portfolio with the special prices can become related, and the continuity of the electricity that we can achieve is something that we can put. And a main benefit to have in co-production is to extend the life assets, and this decommissioning point is a disruptive and breakthrough option to bring value now on the assets with this type of energy like geothermal, like options that we can have from the subsurface, increase the life of the assets and can get value on the economics that we can put together for the extend life of the option. That is something that we have been integrated from geoscience, from geological perspective, to include the potential of our reservoirs, to bring these mature fields an opportunity to take the advantage of this one. One challenge we have been facing is related to our assets and our fields have been created for produce all hydrocarbons. And to keep losses of heat is something that we need to understand and to include more technology and innovation related to how we can encourage and take more advantage of the facilities and the resources that we can have it. So that is the point we would like to raise now. Thank you.
Thank you, Cesar. And just for a short answer, could you tell us more about what have been your challenges and what contributions have you made to the regulatory framework to the energy transition law? If you could just 1 minute, will be perfect.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Maria Rosa. Yes, challenges and how we can be contributing to the new law and regulatory option have been related to the knowledge of the subsurface of the reservoir conditions. We are going to have just a position, interchange of different type of resources that we have in the surface, like hydrocarbons. So to take in consideration that we have been already on the oil field asset doing production at the different conditions, the primary, secondary, and tertiary recovery is something that we need to put in place. And that is something that in co-production we need to evaluate to put into the option of the portfolio of the projects. And as well, one challenge that we have been facing, and as well, we have been delivery on the law is related to technology and innovation. We have been facing that 180 degrees Celsius was the limit related to temperature some years ago. Now we got to be quite close to 80 degrees Celsius, where is now a new opportunity with technology and innovation. So to include this option of heat transfer utilization with technology is something that can be on low, medium, and high enthalpy, not only high enthalpy projects. That is something that we have been included. And as well to add a value related to how we can utilize the information and utilize the assets of the projects or the development areas we have in place with the considerations, keeping our regulatory from the environmental conditions and the project is something that we have been putting related to our alternatives. Thank you, Maria Rosa.
Thank you, Cesar. Awesome time. Okay, so now we're going to do a little break before continue to the general questions for our panelists. We appreciate all your answers. And let me introduce a little bit to Mario Cuellar, who has some words for us. Good morning, Mario. How are you today?
Buenos días para todos. Gracias. ¿Me escuchan?
And now we can listen to you, yes.
Bueno, entonces vamos a dar unas palabras para Claudia Alfaro. Tú me puedes hacer la traducción simultánea porque mi inglés es un poco lento, ¿sí?
Okay, of course.
Gracias. Claudia, muy buenos días. Este es un momento difícil para nosotros porque perdemos una gran profesional, una gran líder.
So, Claudia, this is a difficult time for us because we are losing a great professional and leader.
Tú has liderado una gran generación, unas décadas acerca del avance científico en nuestro tema de geotermia.
You have been the leader of a generation and such an advances, scientific advances in this decade.
Y tu legado será siempre pues una luz de esperanza para nuestro sistema investigativo en geociencias básicas.
And you have given a light to our research system in geoscience, basic geosciences at the Geological Colombian Survey.
Claudia, te deseo lo mejor como director técnico de geociencias básicas, tu apoyo, tu respaldo.
I wish you all, as a director of the basic geosciences, all my support. Yeah, all my support.
Y deseo que disfrutes esta nueva etapa de tu vida y que no te vayas muy lejos de nosotros para que nos asesores permanentemente. Un abrazo.
And I wish you all the best in this new stage of your life, and a big hug for you, Claudia.
Such a big surprise. Thank you very much to you all, and particularly you, Mario. It's an unforgettable feature, and I am very happy for ending this stage of my life, and I will be close anyway. I love geothermal and geothermal people.
Thank you, Claudia, and thank you, Mario.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mario Cuellar, who is the Director of Basic Geosciences at Servicio Geológico Colombiano, Colombian Geological Survey. Thank you so much for your words. Yes, sir. You have the word.
Now, congratulations, Claudia, once again. And now we're moving on to the general questions. So the first question is going to be directed to Claudia, Cesar, and Daniela. Each one of you have 2 minutes to answer the questions. And I'm going to start. Okay, so now, could you give us your opinion regarding the regulatory framework that the Ministry of Mines has been developing for geothermal energy? You can maybe start, Cesar, who is unmuted.
Claudia, okay.
Oh, Claudia.
Claudia is Claudia
Okay.
start to talk.
Okay.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna answer. Okay, actually we know the project of the decree, the resolution, and I think it is a great advance because we had nothing before, and also some rules are already clear, and we need that frame for a safe investment. However, I think there are some subjects that should be supplemented in the future. For example, the direct utilization was not included for many reasons, but I think we cannot leave this subject alone. We have to work on the regulation for using the geothermal resources in direct utilization, and also other subjects such as the surveillance of the production should be identified as one of the more important issues for being able to do a sustainable exploitation of the resource. There are other aspects I don't remember right now, but probably one of the most important, which was discussed with the Inter-American Development Bank in many meetings, is the importance of making easy the participation of the communities, of the local communities, indigenous communities. So those aspects should be supplemented in the future. But for now, it is a great advance which will promote the development of the geothermal resources.
Thank you so much, Claudia. Now let's go with Cesar or Daniela.
Okay, thank you.
Everyone's first.
Thank you, Fernando. Appreciate it. So just adding to what Claudia say, is the opportunity from the geological framework we have from the conductivity system and the convective system. I think to have this on mind into the regulatory framework, that we can add value as well with the production system and we have on the field assets. It's something that it was included on the framework. And we really like to have this option because as Maria Rosa questioned, we have been putting these type of benefits to include on the decarbonization and net zero carbon neutrality of our country, Colombia, as a source of energy to put in place. Other thing is related to how we can use the enthalpy from the different consideration and that we can have from the transfer we do with the heat transfer on medium and high enthalpy consideration that we can put it in the place in the regulatory option. And as well, the openness and readiness to get the feedback, I think was a very good exercise related to this regulatory framework doing by Ministry on Mines, because it inspired us to continue working and to put our projects to see in ourselves. Different companies, operators companies in the country are working now. We are working on this type of alternatives. So found this type of scenarios, give us the support to continue doing on and to see the perspective of new projects that can come related to it. So it's something that we really appreciated on this new regulatory framework. This will be encouraged to develop geothermal energy. Today have been doing on European community and DOE, United States consideration. This regulatory help us to all the ecosystem on the geothermal to promote universities, institutions, and governments and operators, service providers, local development with communities, opportunity for jobs, and new sector economies to be developed in our regions in Colombia. So I really would like to say thank you to Ministry and to you to the opportunity and big appreciation with Claudia Alfaro too.
Thank you so much, Cesar. Now, let's hear what Daniela has to say.
I would say that everything has already been said. Just I agree with Claudia and Cesar. I think it's a great progress that has been done with this framework. It was the objective of the National Development Plan 2018-2022, and it has been done. I think it was a good exercise to look at the draft, to read, and to think about the improvement that can be suggested. From the association, we sent our comments, and we are waiting for the final version of the decree and the technical framework.
Okay, thank you. Opinions definitely worth noting. Now, let's move on to the next question.
Okay, thank you so much. What strategies do you consider most important in the consolidation of projects, either for energy generation or developing direct uses? And this question is for Warren, Julian, and Cesar. So Warren, would you like to start?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by the consolidation of projects for energy generation, but I guess I can say that in my own experience within Colombia and other places, the consolidation, I don't know, again, that's a word that I wouldn't necessarily assume or associate with geothermal. There are projects here in Colombia. There are many that are known. There are many that are unknown. I'm quite certain of that. The off-takers, again, are the most important drivers. So if you have EPM and Ecopetrol and the energy sector in general for production, they can form some sort of consortium or whatever to develop some of these projects. Again, I no longer think of it as a technology issue as much as a finance issue. The prices have to be there. There has to be some kind of reason to actually exploit the resource. I see also, again, the holistic approach of direct use as well as energy production as being extremely important. And it makes it easier to develop projects. So if you have a project that takes advantage of the heat that's generated, as well as the electricity that can be generated, that's a good way to begin a project. I believe the last question was really, really important, and the framework that has been developed is a good starting point. I absolutely agree with Claudia that direct use can no longer be sort of a separate issue. It has to be considered as part of the general scheme of geothermal development. So when we talk about consolidation of projects, the existing energy companies within Colombia can, of course, form some sort of consortium and develop some of these projects. The easiest ones are the ones that are known, like Nevada del Ruiz, for instance. That has tremendous resource potential, much more so than just in the Reyes Valley, in my opinion. You have Santa Rosa, you have San Vicente. That whole area is extremely ripe for exploitation in a very good way. So I guess I'd leave it at that.
Okay, muchas gracias. Thank you so much. Now, Julián, ¿qué estrategias consideras que son las más importantes para que los proyectos se consoliden, es decir, se puedan completar y llegar a un estado final exitoso, ya sea para la generación de energía o para el desarrollo de los usos directos?
Y yo creo que hay varios elementos a considerar. Uno de ellos, digamos que es el factor, digamos que regulatorio comercial, que en cierto sentido privilegie o permita una retribución a la firmeza que da la energía geotérmica. Ese habrá que estudiarlo en el mediano y largo plazo, de tal forma que los desarrolladores tengan una oportunidad de promover sus proyectos frente a otras fuentes de energía que pueden ser más competitivas económicamente, pero que no brindan esa firmeza. Ese sería el primero. Si quieren.
Ok, muchas gracias.
Tengo otros ahí, si quieren traduces ese y te cuento los otros, o te los digo todos.
No, pues empecemos paso a paso. Primero, so it will be important the regulatory framework, the regulatory commercial framework, in order to promote the projects, in order to make the feasible projects. And yes, so let us more, dinos un poco más sobre el siguiente.
Ok, otro en el cual ya estamos caminando a nivel país es la parte de normatización y regulación del registro geotérmico, en el cual el Ministerio de Minas y Energías ya dio sus primeros pasos y digamos que esperamos que se termine de regular en los siguientes meses.
Okay, so the second step will be the regulatory framework that the Ministry of Mines and Energy is already developing at the moment.
El tercero sería integrar en los proyectos de desarrollo energético y de infraestructura usos directos en cascada que permitan a los territorios hacer uso de los recursos geotérmicos, no solamente a las grandes empresas, sino a los locales tener un beneficio de estos recursos con usos directos.
Okay, and the third part will be to integrate the energetic development projects and infrastructure projects with the direct uses in a waterfall mode or in a cascade mode, letting the locals and other participants to get some profits.
Y por último, y espero que no se me haya olvidado alguno, pero seguramente César lo coge, creo que requerimos mucha más educación en el aprovechamiento del recurso geotérmico, no solamente en la parte de tecnología de generación de electricidad, sino en usos directos a nivel de las universidades del país. Esto hay que dejarlo de ser una cosa exótica y novedosa para volverlo una práctica más cotidiana.
Okay, and the fourth factor will be to more education about the geothermal resources. This involves the universities, and just we have to stop being or thinking about this as an exotic thing and just get into it in more detail. Okay. Muchas gracias, Julián. Thank you so much. And now, Cesar, would you tell us more about this?
Yes, thank you, Maria-Rosa. Okay, what I think in coming in our main pillars on the strategy is about the regional analysis and the prospectivity of our resource in the subsurface. the truly knowledge related to dimension, the thermal capacity, the potential that we have it with the temperature and the geothermal condition that we can use or reuse on the different conditions, either on direct use or on co-production or either on medium and high enthalpy is very affordable to have it as part of the main actions or pillars to put in the strategy, the knowledge of the subsurface. The second one is related to not only know about the subsurface, you do the modeling about the productivity and the net of energy that I can put on the dimension and the condition that I can put on the production of energy. This is completely new in our ecosystem, but to include this one on the energy portfolio is something that we would like to put on the scenarios, and with the interaction and articulation with the different processes in place. In the oil and gas industry, we are articulating processes for it, and we are looking forward to the best-in-class options in integrity, on options, on infrastructure, but as well on the different regions. We need to do this synergy of this modeling and condition of the productivity and dimensioning condition that we have it. And the third one that I would like to put in the strategy is related to the alternative selections of technology to be applicable for the option that we are going to take in place. This alternative on technology allow us to take in advantage the heat transfer that we would like to produce, use, and to convert in energy. So determine the best technology is something that I will put at the third pillar. And the next pillar is going to be about how I build and do this synergy related to the operation and maintenance of this one. This type of projects can go to more than 20 years. So we need to see in the infrastructure and the building conditions and the commissioning and the option that we are putting, either in our oil field assets or in our regional assets, how I project this economic option into this one and give opportunities for the communities to be involved one. And the final one is going to be related to standards and regulation that we already have a great framework doing by the ministry, but as well we need to continue working with the support of the Geological Service of Colombia, for sure, and with all the entities that we are involved here today and sitting here on this panel, create these standards and regulation to the different details that require our geothermal in low, medium, and high enthalpy to take advantage of the heat transfer. Heat transfer is something that gives us opportunity today, and not be like a waste. Is something that we can do like a benefit for us. And actually today, there are new regulations related in some of the countries around the world to do promotion related to waste, use of waste heat transfer to energy that we can put in place. All this one connected with universities, academia, institutions, and companies working on these pillars. Thank you.
Thank you, Cesar.
Okay, now for the next question. This is for Sandra, Julian, and Warren. Now, how do you perceive how do you perceive the actual development of geothermal energy in the current Colombian context? Now, let's start with Sandra.
I was thinking that you were going to say that. Well, actually, we received a lot of comments for the decree, like almost 200 comments for the decree. And for the resolution, we received almost the same amount of comments. So we are identifying right now that are very interesting in the private sector. And everyone wants to know about our decree, our resolution, and what we are doing right now. So I think is very good that everyone is asking us. And besides, we already have a lot of meetings with interested parties. They show us that this geothermal resource and this development of the legal and regulatory framework is very interesting in the private sector. So we are hoping that is going to be a lot of development right now. we are expecting that at least for electricity generation, it's gonna be very quick. We have to make another public policies, but we expect that our diversification of our matrix is gonna be very fast, like we hope in these next 8 years. So maybe we hope to have a big project, geothermal project, 2030, for example. So we are seeing this very, very optimistic way, actually.
Okay, thank you so much, Sandra. Now, let's go with Julián. Julián.
Bueno, ya tengo la pregunta. Yo creo que en el corto y mediano plazo, teniendo un poco de suerte, nosotros alrededor del proyecto del Valle de Nereidas, del Nevado del Ruiz, vamos a avanzar positivamente. Soy muy optimista en que hemos encontrado tecnologías nuevas, empresas con ganas de avanzar, profesionales decididos, y eso de golpe, si se nos alinean algunas características estratégicas, nos permitirá avanzar en la fase exploratoria y por consiguiente en el desarrollo del campo. Creo adicionalmente, por ese ladito primero.
Okay, so Julián is saying that he feels positive or optimistic about the project in the Valle de Nereidas in the exploration phase. With new technologies and new entities, he feels that the project can go on and will improve and develop in the medium and long term. Okay.
Adicionalmente, veo que hay un interés naciente en el desarrollo de tecnologías para usos de temperaturas de baja entalpía. Esto a la postre dará unos usos directos y algunos usos eléctricos que podrán ser apropiados más fácilmente por nuestros desarrolladores locales.
Okay.
Así creo que se va a romper el hielo de la geotermia en Colombia, similar como el paso que dio Parex recientemente en el Casanare, y creo que así vamos avanzando en el desarrollo y en el beneficio del recurso geotérmico que tenemos en nuestro país.
Okay, so he says that due to the rising interest in geothermal energy in Colombia and the implementing of new technologies, the direct uses for new technologies for direct uses, the use of geothermal energy not only for high enthalpy but also medium and low enthalpy will be more widespread and will make more of a breakthrough the current status of geothermal use in Colombia.
Y finalmente, esperamos que el Ministerio de Minas y Energía siga con tanto impulso como lo ha hecho en los últimos 2 años, y igualmente el Ministerio de Medio Ambiente se involucre mucho en el desarrollo de esta tecnología.
Okay. Now he says that the Ministry of Mines and also the Ministry of the Environment can help assist in this process. Now, thank you, Julián. And now with Cesar. Sorry. Now with Warren.
Hi, Fernando. Thanks again. I guess it's my time to talk, eh?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, I agree with both Sandra and with Julián. I think without the regulatory framework, nothing would have been possible in Colombia in a large scale. I think that, step by step, it's all very possible here. Again, it's not a question of resource. It's a question of how to exploit that resource and for what purpose. So if it's energy generation, you've got to have an off-taker. You have to have a price that supports the development. If it's use, there has to be a reason for it. Either cooling or heating. District heating is a big part, not necessarily here in Colombia, but cooling can be. We've looked at different technologies for development of large-scale commercial cooling facilities here in Colombia that could take advantage of geothermal and can reduce parasitic load as well as cost to the company. We've looked at a project now that actually is a direct use project combined with solar. And again, that sort of goes up to the next question, the question just before this, consolidation of projects. I look at sustainable projects, things that are renewable in nature, that include not just geothermal, but may include solar as well, and maybe wind. So there's a project that we're currently looking at and probably will begin fairly soon on drying, new technologies for drying bee pollen here in Colombia. Something I never even thought about a year ago, to be honest with you. But that sector here seems to be ripe for geothermal as well as solar and other ways to reduce the cost at the farm so that the farmers can be more productive and can derive a larger profit. It's a very small project. It's co-sponsored by the Colorado School of Mines, and I'm pretty enthusiastic. And the University of Andes here in Bogota is also a part of that effort. So in any case, I think that step by step, everything is possible in Colombia. For energy generation, without the foundation, without the framework, as Sandra pointed out, nothing would have happened, nothing would be possible. Today, it's all possible. I think that the future will be in sort of again, there's got to be a reason to develop the energy. There's got to be a reason to actually use the heat. So I look at agricultural uses, direct use here in Colombia. For energy production, the low-hanging fruit, I think, exists in Paipa, as well as in Nevado del Ruiz. Those two areas are very well known. And in my own opinion, Nevado del Ruiz is absolutely ready for exploitation, for deep drilling, and for energy generation, if there's a reason, if the price actually supports it. So again, I'm very enthusiastic about Colombia. I'm very enthusiastic about geothermal in Colombia.
Thank you so much, Warren. Now for the final question, Maria Rosa.
Okay, well, what a positive panorama here in Colombia. And let me ask you this question to Sandra, Daniela, and Claudia. What challenges do you foresee geothermal energy will face in Colombia in the future? Sandra, would you like to start?
Okay, thank you. Well, I think we must continue working in public policy because we have to make maybe another regulatory frameworks, something like auctions, for example, auctions just for geothermal energy projects, for example, or another public regulation that help us to regulate the price of this kind of energy. We know it's expensive, but as Julian just said before, and Cesar, is very it's very stable. So it's necessary to make some adjustments about the price of this technology in order to get develop these kind of projects. So we have to continue working in public policy. That is the most important, I think so.
Okay, thank you, Sandra. Now, Daniela, could you tell us more? Yeah?
Yes, I would say that beside the legal aspect that Sandra just mentioned, I would say that it's important this synergy with the oil and gas industry that has a long experience in Colombia, as Cesar was mentioning. So I think we need to show people that the oil industry can provide knowledge and experience to geothermal energy, for example, for drilling operation, even though we know that it's more difficult to drill geothermal wells. And I think an important aspect or challenge beside education in the university, as it's already been said, I think it's important to socialize this about this energy with the community. So it's important to have outreach activities to let people know about this energy, and maybe take as example what has been done by the Czech team in the Nevado del Ruiz area, that they do a great job, and they did a great job, and communities are willing to receive the geothermal development. So I think it's really important, this social aspect, that sometimes since we are mainly always geoscientists, engineers, lawyers, we forget this social aspect. So I think that it's important to take it into account.
Okay, thank you so much, Daniela. And now, Claudia.
Well, I agree with Sandra and Daniela, and I would say that this the challenge are about the same in all over the world. We need to build a local capacity. We need to find funding programs. We should expand the regulatory framework and promote the inversion in geothermal projects. And we cannot forget what Daniela just said, that the community should be involved, because the geothermal resources are located in the remote zones, and those people are very, very poor, and they need more education. And they could be part of these projects, and they could give more confidence to the investors. And well, this is what I feel. Besides the regular barriers that we have identified in all over the world, the communities, which are also identified as a barrier in some cases, should be taken into account.
Thank you so much, Claudia. And since this is the last question, and we would like to also know more about what maybe Warren, Julian, or Cesar do you foresee about geothermal energy here in Colombia? Would you like to tell us more also about this question, Warren, Julian, or Cesar?
Yes, thank you, Maria Rosa. And as Claudia, and Daniela, and Sandra mentioned, I think we had an opportunity, and the challenge for us is to continue working on. I think we have been found some barriers, but like all projects, like options, but we should continue doing this effort, because it's something that our nature framework in Colombia give us. We have this like a comparative advantage to be here with us, this thermal consideration, either on the high, medium, and low enthalpy, where we can take advantage and include into the energy portfolio the option to have this geothermal capacity in our renewables strategy. Our community is continue growing. Our community require options with energy. There are some communities that are still isolated from the energy portfolio provided. Maybe we can have source of geothermal that can provide this energy on these areas. So we need to look forward to have this consideration on this energy portfolio to be together. Other one is continue working on this circular strategy economic. I think that is very important to include another sectors. Geothermal is not alone. Geothermal can provide benefits not only to the energy, is as well to create productive system with agriculture, with mining, with conditions on another industrial sectors that can come work together. And as well, we'll be contributing to the decarbonization and net zero carbon neutrality that our country has in targets. So this will give us a spin-off and option to continue working on geothermal, and they encourage to the universities and institutions to keep the momentum. I know everybody knows it's not easy, but we will continue here working on it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Cesar. So now let me introduce you to our next activity here, which is a tribute to Dr. Claudia Alfaro. And yeah, so we are very pleased and happy to share with you a little tribute we have. I'm sorry, just 1 second. Okay.
Qué cosa tan emocionante, ¿no se imagina?
Yes. Okay. Oh. Okay. Oh my God. Okay, 1 second. Just this is life issues.
For those of you who don't know Claudia Alfaro, she is one of the biggest names on geology and geothermal in Colombia. So she's a great scientist and has been for many years now.
Thank you, Fernando.
She is a great woman that inspired us on geothermal, and she will be continue working with us on it. Thank you, Claudia, for everything.
Thank you, you all.
Okay. I'm not allowed right now to share my screen. So maybe Jefferson, could you help us? Oh, we have some comments also in the chat. For you, Claudia.
Okay, thank you.
María, creo que ya puedes compartir tú. Ya te di la opción. Es que creo que Jefferson tiene problemas para poder reproducirlo.
No, todavía no puedo.
No. Jefferson, si no te reproduce, puedes darle host a...
No, I already
Ya,
can.
listo.
Gracias.
Para nosotros es un gran honor rendirle homenaje a Claudia Alfaro, quien culmina este mes una etapa de labor en la geotermia en el Servicio Geológico Colombiano.
Se está viendo bien.
No se ve, María.
¿No?
No.
Oh. ¿No se ve la imagen?
No se ve el video.
Se está viendo una parte de tu computador.
Sí, o sea, se está viendo solo la
Está en otro.
carpeta. La carpeta donde está el video.
Sí.
Okay. Okay. Ahora pueden ver.
Ahora sí.
Viene.
You can see my whole screen.
Para nosotros,
Can you see it?
Sí,
Okay.
ya.
Okay, listo, gracias.
Para nosotros es un gran honor rendirle homenaje a Claudia Alfaro, quien culmina este mes una etapa de labor en la geotermia en el Servicio Geológico Colombiano. Para quienes conocen a Claudia o quienes aún no tienen la dicha de conocerla, ella es un ser humano y líder ejemplar y merece tomarse este par de minutos para sentirse inspirados por su obra y persona. El director de orquesta y filósofo Íñigo Pírfano nos cuenta que un líder inspirador reúne 3 elementos: trabajo bien hecho, ejemplaridad y servicio. Claudia integra esos 3 elementos y seguramente muchos más, generando un liderazgo enriquecedor que tiene que ver con el servicio y no con el poder o imponer, con autenticidad y generando confianza a los que estamos a su alrededor y gran satisfacción por el buen trabajo que juntos logramos en pro de la geotermia. Claudia, tú eres esta líder inspiradora que has vivido con mucha pasión la geotermia por décadas e irradias esa pasión con cada una de tus palabras, gestos, acciones y apoyo a todos tus compañeros y a los proyectos desarrollados en Colombia. Como te describió alguna vez un amigo, siempre vas un paso adelante en cada uno de tus actos, dispuesta a generar soluciones a todos los desafíos que se presentan. Valoramos tu visión integradora y ese gran angular en cada una de las disciplinas: geoquímica, geología, geofísica, aplicadas a la geotermia. Tu energía y disposición siempre han sobresalido en cada actividad, incluso en las miles de horas de reuniones y jornadas de campo, siendo esto también muestra de tu don de servicio y ejemplaridad. Para nosotros, tus compañeros del Servicio Geológico Colombiano, tus amigos, y me atrevería a decir que incluso a Colombia, nos harás mucha falta en el campo de acción. Pero esta despedida es también muestra del equilibrio que guardas en cada una de las facetas de la vida. Eres y seguirás siendo ejemplo y digna de admiración. Con afecto, tus compañeros del Servicio Geológico Colombiano. Estamos haciendo pruebas, chao.
Pues yo me quedo sin palabras, no tengo más que emociones, mucho cariño, mucho afecto, no solamente por ustedes, el grupo de trabajo que tanto quiero, sino a Daniela, Julián, César, Fernando, personas que aquí no conozco. Ela, un abrazo muy grande. Gracias por estar presente. Omar, Gina, chévere, te quiero mucho. Jamie, a todos, muchas gracias por estar presentes. Yo quiero solo dar gracias a Dios primeramente por esta oportunidad tan hermosa que me dio de conocer a los volcanes y de conocer a la geotermia, por conocer gente tan linda como todos ustedes, Warren, un referente de la geotermia en el mundo, que me llevo también en el corazón. Y digamos que en este momento en el que estoy, más que pensar en logros, que seguramente no son muchos y ustedes tendrán muchos más y así lo deseo, lo que me llevo es la maleta cargada de mucho afecto, de solidaridad, de gestos amables, de juventud que absorbí de todo el grupo todo el tiempo, porque fueron gente muy dinámica, gente muy dedicada, muy comprometida, muy amorosa. Y como he dicho yo siempre, la gracia de nosotros fue sostener la caña y la sostuvimos el tiempo suficiente hasta que está pasando esto en Colombia. Entonces, gracias a Dios, gracias a ustedes, y me siento muy honrada y muy emocionada con este homenaje. Un abrazo a todos.
Muchas gracias a ti también, Claudia. Sí, y un aplauso también. Ahora tenemos a el doctor Oscar Paredes Zapata. So let me introduce Dr. Oscar Paredes Zapata. He is the Managing Director at Servicio Geológico Colombiano, and he has a few words of closure. Thank you. Dr. Oscar.
Muy buenos días, no sé si me escuchan.
Sí.
Quisiera prender la cámara, pero el sistema no me lo permite, que dice que el organizador no permite.
Ya creo que puedes.
Ah.
Sí.
Listo.
Pues para mí realmente es un placer y en mi condición de director general del Servicio Geológico Colombiano, poder participar en este evento de reconocimiento al trabajo y obra de Claudia Alfaro. Creo que el video que acabamos de ver refleja claramente el sentimiento de sus colaboradores inmediatos sobre su calidez humana y sobre el enorme contribución que Claudia ha hecho en el desarrollo de este campo de las ciencias de la Tierra. Quiero simplemente relevar el que siempre en estos 11 años que llevo de director general me sentí absolutamente acompañado, técnicamente soportado por la figura y la persona de Claudia en un tema tan relevante como es la geotermia en las energías renovables. El mundo está yendo hacia ese concepto de la utilización, de la descarbonización, de la reducción de las emisiones de gas por efecto invernadero para la producción de energía, y la geotermia adquiere un rol absolutamente relevante en este concepto de la composición y diversificación de la canasta energética en los distintos países en el mundo. Quizá Colombia es un ejemplo de una de las canastas energéticas más limpias que existen en el mundo, dado que la generación nuestra de energía es eléctrica fundamentalmente entre un 70-80% proviene de generación hidráulica. Pero sin embargo, dentro de ese concepto de diversificación, el actual gobierno nacional viene haciendo esfuerzos muy importantes para la activación de este tipo de energías renovables, como es la generación por diferencias de fuentes de calor. Claudia ha mantenido un grupo y esta línea de investigación en el instituto que durante hace unos años se había debilitado fuertemente. Y de los últimos 10 años para acá, con la asignación de recursos presupuestales significativos, importantes, provenientes del Sistema General de Regalías, con recursos de apoyo de cooperación técnica y científica internacional que aportó el Ministerio de Minas y Energía, se ha venido robusteciendo y fortaleciendo bajo la dirección técnica de Claudia los equipos de investigación que han contribuido al desarrollo actual y a la manera como entrega Claudia este grupo de investigación. Querida Claudia, usted entrega un grupo fortalecido, un grupo técnicamente compacto, un grupo con las características técnicas y científicas que auguran la continuidad en la prestación y en el avance del conocimiento geocientífico en nuestro territorio nacional. Yo no tengo sino motivos de agradecimiento a la doctora Claudia Alfaro por la manera como ella siempre manejó su relación institucional con el Ministerio de Minas y Energía, que es nuestra entidad rectora, en la elaboración de ese proyecto de decreto que está próximo a salir, mediante el cual el gobierno nacional adopta un marco jurídico que habrá de darle claridad al desarrollo e impulso a estos proyectos. Usted ha sido la inspiradora de todas las normas que allí están desde el punto de vista técnico, Claudia. Usted contribuyó con altura y con soporte técnico y científico en la discusión de ese marco normativo que habrá, esperamos, que habrá de darle un impulso a las energías en geotermia. Yo reitero, no tengo sino motivos de agradecimiento, creo interpretar no solamente el parecer y la opinión de las integrantes del personal técnico científico integrante del grupo de trabajo de geotermia en el instituto, sino que creo recoger la de la totalidad de los funcionarios de esta institución, a una persona que bien ha servido a Colombia durante más de 34 años de vinculación continua y con trabajo técnico y con trabajo científico y con el diario avance de sus investigaciones, entrega un punto muy alto. Tenga usted la seguridad, Claudia, que es un deber nuestro continuar fortaleciendo presupuestalmente estas líneas de investigación. Es un deber nuestro fortalecer administrativamente estos grupos de trabajo para que queden incorporados dentro de las plantas de personal del instituto. Seguiremos insistiendo en todos estos aspectos de reestructuraciones y de los equipos de trabajo y de las plantas de personal que se habrán de fortalecer en el instituto con los procesos que están actualmente en curso. Sale usted dejando un punto muy alto, Claudia, de la investigación, un punto muy alto del desarrollo institucional y como en todo, es como una carrera de antorchas, una carrera de una posta que uno le va dejando al otro. Esperamos que con el apoyo de la Dirección General, los equipos de trabajo sigan fortaleciendo estas líneas de investigación y sigan dando resultados tangibles como los que usted ha entregado al país en manera particular, que es mi testimonio en los últimos 11 años que estoy al frente de esta institución. Recibe un gran abrazo, Claudia, muchos éxitos en esta nueva etapa de tu vida personal que has escogido y privilegiado el enorme don de la familia y de compartir con la familia momentos que quizá el trabajo te sustrajo en años anteriores. Quedamos siempre pendientes de que puedas volver con nosotros en cualquier momento, que puedas volver a apoyarnos, ya no bajo una figura de las responsabilidades directas, sino con un acompañamiento bajo un concepto más general y más de un espacio de asesor. Ya tendremos oportunidad de hablar cualquier figura de esa naturaleza que dentro de tu plan de vida pueda encajar de manera perfecta. Reitero que en nombre de todos los colaboradores del Servicio Geológico Colombiano, de su personal directivo, extender un sentimiento de gratitud, de aprecio a la vida y obra de la doctora Claudia Alfaro. Recibe un gran abrazo fraternal de todos nosotros y de todo el equipo de dirección del Instituto, querida Claudia.
Doctor Paredes, mil gracias por la generosidad de sus palabras y por ese reconocimiento que a veces siento pues es inmerecido. Realmente este es un esfuerzo de grupo de trabajo y lo recibimos con mucho cariño, pues es un homenaje para todo el grupo. Yo no hubiera podido hacer ni siquiera el 1% si no hubiera tenido a este equipo maravilloso. Muchas gracias a usted por su liderazgo. También debo reconocer públicamente su rigor, su dedicación y bueno, darle las gracias por estas palabras y por este homenaje tan inesperado y tan bonito. Muchas gracias.
Bueno, un abrazo para todos y agradezco el que me han dado la posibilidad de participar en este evento científico de reconocimiento a la vida y obra de Claudia Alfaro. Un abrazo para todos.
Gracias, jefe.
Muchas gracias por las palabras.
Muchas gracias a todos también. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time and your participation. The Geotheroom, as it's an initiative of Geothermia, Universidad de Medellín, and the IGCP 636 project. Thank you all for your participation. Many thanks to the panelists. You are incredible guests and activists in the geothermal energy in Colombia. So we appreciate so much you could be here and your participation. Now, if you allow us, we would like to take a picture. If you can open your cameras, and so we can take a picture of this event. Thank you all, everyone that come to this event, and I hope you enjoy it.
Say cheese.
Okay.
Okay, I think that's it. Okay,
Muchas
thank
gracias.
you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Muchas gracias.
Have a good day.
Un abrazo.
Gracias. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Bye.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for
Gracias a todos.
coming.
Gracias, Fernando, María Rosa. Gracias.
Bye.
Gracias, Gerson y María Rosa, ¿verdad?
Thank you
Un
so much.
abrazo.
Sí, señora.
Gracias.
Okay.
Thank you for being here. Gracias a todos. Muchas gracias, Fernando.
A ti, María Rosa, y también a Jefferson, que ya se fue.
Y no, de verdad, los quiero agradecer. Excelente la organización, no tengo palabras, fue muy bonito todo, súper en el tiempo, ¿verdad? Muchas gracias a todo el grupo del servicio, Fernando. Y bueno, ahí seguimos hablando para ir haciendo más cosas y muy bonito todo lo que
Listo.
han hecho para Claudia, ¿no? Me pareció muy bien todas las preguntas. La traducción,
Sí,
sí,
eso.
felicitaciones a María Rosa y Fernando, gracias por el apoyo con el inglés y bueno.
Muchas gracias a ti
Ok.
también, Daniela, por todo tu apoyo en todo el
Y nos
evento.
apoyamos entre todos.
Sí,
Es un apoyo
sí,
recíproco.
listo. Qué
Listo,
bien, qué bien
Listo.
Colombia. Bueno, hablamos entonces.
Muchas gracias, chao.
Hasta luego.
Listo, feliz
Chao,
día.
María Rosa.
Gracias, chao.